Thank you very much for being with us. Ukraine's counter-offensive continues at Kherson. The city hasn't yet been retaken, but there are clear signs that villages surrounding the city are back in Ukrainian hands. Ukraine's operation has been concentrating on breaking Russian supply lines. Kherson's the only regional capital taken by the Russians since their invasion was launched on February the 24th. Let's get some wider analysis and bring in Michel Yakovleff, professor at the Paris School of International Affairs and a former Vice Chief of Staff at NATO Supreme Command. Thank you very much for being with us. Can I start by asking what you make of the situation at Kherson?
Well, first of all, it looks like after 2 days of uncertainty, it looks like we're now having a clearer picture of what's happening. It does appear that the Russians are conducting a relatively orderly withdrawal, presumably covered by intensive mining behind them. They are abandoning positions, and it looks like their artillery is silent. Now, most of it has been repositioned to the southern side of the river. As for the Ukrainians, their progression, as you have said, is very cautious. It looks like their artillery is not very active either. I suppose they are being cautious, and there may be a degree of perplexity for them also, not to fall into an ambush, basically, a large-scale ambush.
Indeed, that is one of the things that's been raised by Kyiv, isn't it? That there's a possibility that Russia is certainly just laying a trap at this point.
Yes, but now I doubt it. I mean, the trap is mostly, booby traps all over the area, and maybe some heavy fire once the Russian soldiers will have evacuated the position, and maybe to attempt a demolition at distance of a revenge act on Kherson. Now, for the withdrawal itself, since the Russians can't use a bridge and they're using pontoons and barges, if they're only considering evacuating personnel, it looks like 20,000 approx, that could take a few days. If they're considering withdrawing materiel, then we're adding more days, maybe weeks, and I doubt that will be possible. So it looks like within a few days, not only will the Ukrainians have basically recovered the control over the area north of the river, they will also be able to boast about a large amount of booty in the form of material, possibly ammunition and so on.
It is Ukraine policy not to fire on a Ukrainian city, so a bombardment of Kherson, which Russia was warning about 2 weeks ago, we are led to believe is unlikely to happen. Maybe your thoughts on that might be different. Do you feel that what we're seeing now is the preparation for a large-scale battle at Kherson?
No, I don't think so. The Ukrainians have always been very open that they will not liberate their cities the same way the Russians liberated, if I dare say, Mariupol and Severodonetsk and so on. So they don't do liberation by demolition. Another factor being that I doubt they have the ammunition to do it if they wanted to. So their way of once it will assuming it will happen, let's say, their way of liberating Kherson. Just biding their time and taking time to strangle the Russians out of their positions will have been successful, economical, and also a demonstration of military ability and restraint.
Clear sign then Ukraine's taking back the ground. What does this mean for Vladimir Putin? Because clearly this, it would be hard for him to spin this as something positive to the Russian public.
Unmitigated disaster, whatever spin he'll try to apply. What's interesting is that the media ops has been going on already. They've been preparing the population. They've been deporting large amounts of civilians. They portray that as restoring a better defensive line, which objectively is true, and preparing for the long haul in the whole of Donbass. For the Ukrainians, they'll need time to take stock. and measure and exploit the degree of victory that they will have achieved. How many prisoners will they make? I suspect a few thousand. And the material, as I said, lining up the booty is always good news for them. But what's clear is that they have no ability to launch another offensive phase in the foreseeable future, at least in that area. I'd be more cautious about other areas.
Clearly, there is a very long battlefront in Ukraine and various things happening at various times. Speaking about Vladimir Putin, though, the pressure clearly will be on him to come up with some kind of response, some kind of reaction. He has, of course, made the scarcely veiled hint that he would consider a nuclear strike of some degree or force. Does that possibility increase with what is happening at Kherson?
No, definitely not, in my view. You'll have noticed that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, the nuclear talks have receded into irrelevance. It's not now that it will turn up again. You can never rule out President Putin doing stupid things. I mean, he's been very good at it recently, but I doubt that's on the cards, actually.
Okay, well, let's hope that that analysis sincerely is the one that is seen to be true in the future, and clearly you're basing it on your reading of the situation, and yours is the reading of a rational military man who knows the situations. And of course, as you've just couched it, no one knows what's going on in Vladimir Putin's mind. Thank you so very much indeed for joining us from... that's Michel Yakovleff from the Paris School of International Affairs, former Vice Chief of Staff at NATO Supreme Command. Thank you so very much indeed. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.